That is actually incredible.
Hey, my name is Ben. Thanks for stopping by. If you live in a very rural location like I do, then it is always a struggle trying to find decent internet. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. This particular product was sent over to us by Nomad Internet. And a tiny bit of background before we get into this. I have never had a wired option in the ground to my property, sadly. So we have always worked with wireless options coming to our acreage, and they've worked decently well. We've used Starlink as well as several other more local providers. So I'm interested to see how this compares to those. But actually the more specific target that this is for, as the name implies with being Nomad Internet, is to be able to take it anywhere with you. So the nice thing about this, and one thing that is different than like a typical home internet product like the T-Mobile home internet or Verizon home internet, is that it's not geo-locked to a particular zip code or address. So we can actually take this thing and go multiple different locations. You can take it in your camper or RV and be able to use it. Now, one thing that I really like about it that I asked them right away was, what network is this actually running on? Because obviously Nomad Internet probably doesn't have their own set of towers and all of that. And so typically it's going to run on one of the major carriers. And Verizon Wireless is actually the carrier that this operates off of, which we have had fantastic luck. We use Verizon Wireless and have been for a super long time and have had really good luck with them. Now, of course, I'm sure people will comment down below about how Verizon is terrible in some areas, which that can be the case, but the fact that it's on Verizon gives me a pretty high confidence level that we're gonna have a pretty good experience. So let's talk about this. This is the package that includes the carrying pack, which is actually surprisingly nice. It even comes with a little rain screen thing in the bag right here that you can wrap over the bag if you had rain that you were dealing with, if you were actually going to go hiking with this thing, which is definitely a possibility. And the reason that that's possible, you would think that you would need to have an outlet, right? Well, this actually comes with, if you choose this configuration, it comes with a big old battery pack. And this thing is big enough to run the internet for a substantial amount of time. So what I want to do right now is we're going to get this thing out and we're going to get it fired up and see how long it takes us to be able to actually access the internet with it. So one neat thing about the cables and the way they work plugging into this power bank is that if you don't want the internet turned on but you want to leave it all plugged in, they actually have a little switch right here that when you press it, it actually clicks off and then clicks back on again, which is kind of cool. It's like a lamp cord almost when you have a really positive click. And that's just a little USB cord with that switch in it that they've added in addition to the standard USB cord going to the back of our modem. So we're gonna leave this thing on. The red light is on right now. According to the instructions, it says it can take up to 30 minutes for it to lock onto the best tower. And so we're gonna see, we'll sit here and see what this does and how long it actually takes. I'm curious how long it's going to be before we can actually do a speed test on this thing. I'm super excited about it. There's a 10% off code link in the description if you guys would like to check out Nomad for yourselves. They do offer a trial period, so if for some reason it doesn't work in your particular situation, you're more than welcome to return it for a full refund. There's also no contracts, and they do offer the ability to pause your internet service in certain situations, like if you have an RV. Let's see if this thing booted up. Okay guys, it turned green already. I don't know if that means that it's actually ready to go or not. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can get this connected to the Wi-Fi and then run a speed test. Now, the other awesome thing about this particular device is that it is unlimited data, and that to me is absolutely huge. There's nothing worse than trying to figure out how many gigabytes you've used and how soon the cycle's gonna reset and all that stuff. So all right, let's go through our password in here. Okay, it is connected. We're gonna hit go, and actually right down here on the phone it does say Verizon, which is kind of interesting that it does right away recognize that it's using Verizon's connection. So let's hit go. We're running at 70 megabits per second down, which is pretty decent. The thing I'm the most excited about as a YouTuber is this upload here though. 26, 25, okay, looks like it's coming down a tiny bit to 21, settling in at about 20. And I wonder if that's what their target is. Like they very likely might have specific numbers for uploads that they're supposed to hit. This battery is 60,000 milliamp hours or 222 watt hours. That is handy as all get out. To be able to have your internet in a pack like that and not have to plug it into the wall for a good amount of time, that's seriously awesome. All right, so what I want to do now is we're going to go and see if we can rig up a couple different tests to run this thing and give it kind of a good stress test. So we are starting from 83%. All right, let's go test this thing in a few different locations and see how it performs. 74 and 9. This is my place, and this is where we might give this thing a more long-term test. But let's just see what our speeds are right now. I did go ahead and give this thing a reboot. Where are you going?
I'm going top.
17 up, 75 down. For now, let's take this thing with us. We're gonna continue on up to Marshall.
Oh, Nomad Internet. My.
Isn't it a cool bag?
That's a cool bag, yeah.
Naomi might steal it.
I
If
was
all of a
jealous
sudden,
about the bag.
if all of a sudden I don't have the case for this, you'll know that you'll know what happened.
I
to it.
totally would too. That's a sweet.
It's really cool.
I want it! Wow, that is truly keeping with the theme of like Nomad Internet, like go anywhere.
Oh yeah, exactly. And so in here, there's two different things. There's a big battery pack and the actual router itself. And so right now, internet is coming out of that bag.
Nice.
Isn't that weird?
Is our date to go install this?
Well, our date is partially to test it as we go from place to place. So we made it to Walmart. Here we got 85 and 11. Menards just ran a speed test of 192 megabits down and 18.1 up. There's the Menards Mecca. Applebee's and the speeds over here are pretty fantastic. 199 down, 24 up. So this is definitely more what the plan promises to do. It's likely that the area that I was in earlier just wasn't quite good enough to be able to hit those speeds. That's why they call it up to 200 megabits. It is the next morning and we are just gonna take a look here and see what the percentage is. 73% yet on this battery pack in here. So this has been on the entire time since we set it up out there in the pasture. What we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna take this thing up into the top of my garage over here. This is where all the internet stuff comes in, but we're gonna set this up as the primary connection for my place. All of my Google Wi-Fi devices, which there are 4 on this property, are connected through the one Ethernet port on the back. And that's one nice thing about this is it gives you that expandability option to where if you want to use more than just the built-in Wi-Fi in this device, you can connect it to your whole home mesh Wi-Fi network, which is what we have going on right now. Now, an interesting thing we can see right here is that we're currently using about 4.7 megabits per second upload, or 5 actually, it looks like it just went up to. And that's going to be my baseline amount of upload here continuously because I have several security cameras on the property that are continuously uploading video. So that gives us a really good idea of how much this thing is going to be stable. We're going to be able to look back on the cameras and see if we have any issues with it dropping out. The Nomad Internet worked very reliably for the time that we had it set up in the garage there. We then actually moved it over to the camper and hooked it up to a few different devices there. Let's check that out now. We've had our camper test running for several days now, and the results are actually really fantastic. Right up here in this cupboard, we have the Nomad Internet plugged in, and this thing operates extremely efficiently. It really uses very, very little power, and I can show you exactly how much by going right over here. I'm just going to unplug these couple other devices. You can see I've got a Google Home that's set up right now. That is connected to the Nomad. Basically anything that's internet here is connected to that. We have a Nest camera out that side of the camper, as well as another one right there. And those devices have been uploading 24/7 continuously to the cloud, and all that is going over the Nomad Internet, and it's had really no reliability issues whatsoever. So if I unplug this one and this one, that's going to give us our actual output for the Nomad Internet itself. So we're only using between 1 and 2 watts. It's kind of going back and forth. So that is actually incredible.
The fact that it's using that small of amount of power really lends itself to being a really nice part of your off-grid setup.
By using the battery pack that is included, you can get several days of usage with this thing because it just draws such a small amount of power. That's actually a really interesting contrast to make too, is that Starlink uses like a minimum, I think, of like 40 to 50 watts continuously. And if you're using it in cold weather, it can get upwards of 100 watts when it's trying to melt the snow off or whatever. So it uses much exponentially more power than something like this. Now obviously Starlink is probably going to be able to get even more remote than the Nomad internet will, but if you have any sort of situation where you do have at least decent coverage for an unlimited data reliable internet source, the Nomad internet seems pretty good, especially since it runs on Verizon as its backbone. So I really wouldn't hesitate to recommend this. Now, links will be in the description to how you guys can sign up if you would like to do that. You can get a static IP address with this, which I believe is needed for certain like networking applications. Now, this comes with the default internet name and password, but if you want to change that, you certainly can. You just have to go through a process, request the instructions, and they'll explain to you exactly how to do that. I think it definitely fills the need in a niche where having more options is better as far as your off-grid internet capabilities.